Hello, my name is Adam, and while I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, these opinions and ideas are my own. I encourage you to seek inspiration and revelation through the Spirit, scripture study, and temple attendance, and other ways that you find to receive revelation. So I'd like to share with you some of my recent thoughts on Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 and 25, his 70 weeks of cleansing of the city and the host. So it says in verse 24, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Okay, so here's what I think. Just to give you a little bit of context, in Daniel chapter 8, I have a video on that. It's talking about the last days and the destruction and cleansing that will come upon Babylon, fall of Babylon, and so forth. And chapter 10 is a similar thing, talking about the last days. And sandwiched right in between chapter 8 and 10 is chapter 9, which talks about Jesus is coming again. And so I kind of feel like they're both talking about the last days. In fact, in chapter 8, it talks about cleansing of the city and the host also in the last days. And then you have sort of this repeat about Jesus in the middle. So I believe that the holy city not only is Jerusalem, but it also is Salt Lake City. I have a prior video on that, but the first shall be last and the last shall be first. The gospel came first to the Jews and then unto the Gentiles. And since Salt Lake City and Jerusalem are geographically twin cities, they are also connected. So, for example, they both have a big body of water that is the Dead Sea, a great landlocked body of salt. You have the Sea of Galilee, a fresh body of water to the north in Jerusalem, and to the south in Salt Lake City, you have Utah Lake. They both connect by a fresh body of water, the Jordan River. They're both named the Jordan River. They have desert. And so what happens to one is a symbolic thing of what will happen to the other. And the spiritual capital city of the world today, I believe, is Salt Lake City. It won't become Jerusalem until they accept Jesus as the Messiah. And when the Jews accept Jesus as the Messiah, when he appears, then it will change, and the spiritual capital city of the world will be Jerusalem. But right now, it is Salt Lake City as the headquarters of the Lord's church. I've illustrated a little bit with the geography as well of the land. It's also where the prophet lives, where he gives a general conference, and so on. So there's a little background on why I think that. So then, what does this mean, right? What dates are we talking about? And here's some of the dates that I believe are possibilities. So you take March 26, 2020, which was the closure of temples worldwide, which also I believe was a sign for the world. My prior video, I talked about this, and I posted it 6 months before the October 7th, 2023 attacks upon Jerusalem by Hamas. I posted that 6 months before. I said this means the abomination of desolation is going to be set up. You look in the Bible dictionary on the abomination of desolation. It talks about destruction upon Jerusalem and destroying the city. So I was like, well, this can't mean Jerusalem's going to be destroyed. This is not Armageddon. What does this mean? And as I studied it, I believe it is talking about the destruction of New York City as the temporal capital city of the world right now. I have a whole video on that, so I won't go into depth on that. But DNC 84, 114, and 117 give you the 3 U.S. cities of New York City, New York, Boston, Massachusetts, and Albany, New York. And that is also in the Bible dictionary entry under abomination of desolation. It's the very last scripture. It refers you to those 3 modern cities of the U.S. So I believe we're seeing that the U.S. is going to be dragged into war as a result of the 10/7/2023 attacks upon Jerusalem. We're already seeing escalations this last week. So anyway, the three things the prophet did on March and April 2020 was he closed all temples worldwide. He called for 2 worldwide fasts, and we did a Hosanna shout and solemn assembly where babies could be present. He did that in 10 days. I believe that was a sign for the world. That's mentioned in Joel chapter 1. Joel chapter 2 adds babies have to be present at the solemn assembly. All of that happened. So that was the start date, the day the daily sacrifice of the Lord's house was taken away. You add 1290 days from Daniel chapter 12, verse 11, and then you get the attack on Jerusalem 10/7/2023 to the day. Okay, so the next thing that this indicates in Daniel chapter 8, verse 13 and 14 says that after 2300 days, the sanctuary and the host will be cleansed. So you have the abomination of desolation being set up, 10/7/2023, and you have the end date. You add 2300 days, it's July 13th, 2026. So if that is true, which I believe it is, which also I think it could have dual fulfillment. So this abomination of desolation setup may also happen again to Jerusalem, some more attacks, I don't know. But the 2300 days, I could also believe this might have a dual significance to Jerusalem and Israel later, but as pertains to New York City, Salt Lake City, I think this is what it means in the next couple of years. So if it's going to be 70 weeks, you have an end date and you have a 70-week period. So you subtract that 70 weeks from July 13th, 2026, you get March 10th, 2025. So I believe this is the date that the cleansing will begin, probably in New York and or Salt Lake City or both. I think New York is going to start to see some big destruction on the eclipse date of 4/8/2024 within 7 to 10 days after that date, if not on that date. I have a video on that one as well, but I think this could mean Salt Lake City 3/10/2025. So on 3/23/23, I believe there was a sign of the 2300 days, which is the date the church released a news article saying the Salt Lake City Temple renovation project would be finished in 2026. The Salt Lake Temple was closed December 29th, 2019. You go to 2026, that's 6 years. I don't believe it'll be opened before, say, March or so of 2026. So 6.3 years, 2,300 days. That would be, we're looking at March 2026 or later before it could be opened and completed. And definitely, if the troublous times is between now and July 2026, the city and the wall will be rebuilt in troublous times, which is verse 25 of Daniel 9:25. So I think that's kind of interesting. So anytime you see solar and lunar events and things in the heavens and the stars align with world events and eclipse dates in scripture, it's significant. So first I was like, okay, what's happening on March 26th? March 10th, excuse me. So I put it in and I went to timeanddate.com to look at the moon phases of each year. And I didn't notice, but I clicked on 2024 and it was exactly March 10th, 2024. And I'm like, oh, wait, but 2025 is when this thing is supposed to happen. So that's March 6th through the 14th is the full moon. March 6th is the first quarter. March 10th is right in between that. And so I'm like, well, maybe it doesn't mean anything as far as the lunar things go. I'm not sure. But I have seen a pattern in some people where they have visions or dreams, they write them down, and then 1 year to the exact day is when sometimes they happen. So this could be a 1 year advance warning, March 10th of 2024, of what will happen in 2025. So if you know people who are visionary or dreams, listen for that and see if they start getting visions and dreams of big calamities coming in the U.S., Salt Lake, New York specifically, or generally. So I'm kind of looking at that. Then I went, and I hadn't looked at this before until I was getting ready to produce this video, but I looked at the moon phases in 2026, and I was surprised to see July 14th, 2026 is the new moon phase. And so the 2,300 days will be complete the day before, July 13th, 2026. So this could be significant. It could be another indication that This is the day of a new beginning because all the cleansing will have happened by the 13th. It'll be over, and the 14th will be the new beginning of July 2026, July 14th, 2026. So we'll be looking for that to see if that is what it means, but that's something to keep an eye on. This is just kind of a recap from Daniel 8, talking about how this little horn, little meaning rules for a short time, I believe. There's a goat and a ram, and they fight, and the goat wins, and there's this little horn that comes forth from it, which a horn is a king or a ruler of the animal, which is the kingdom or the country. And so I believe that these two animals that Daniel saw fighting in Daniel 8, which was a ram and a goat, the goat was the king of Grecia. At the end of the chapter, the angel gives him the interpretation. He says it's the king of Grecia. And the ram had two horns, which was the king of Media and Persia. So I believe that means that Grecia is China, Media is Russia, and Persia is Iran. So Russia and Iran will be aligned. They will eventually fight against the goat, against China, and the goat will win. And then from that will come this little horn. And it says, by him, the prince of the host, and by him, the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the sanctuary was cast down. And then verse 14, it says 2,300 days, then the sanctuary will be cleansed. So I talked about this earlier about how China is one of the most populous. It was the most populous country in March 2020. I think it's been overtaken by India since then, but it says by reason of the host and because of transgression, because we have forgotten our God and turned away, is why the temples were allowed to be closed. And it started in Wuhan, China, right? It started there, and it was through the host that was given to him. And it was because of COVID that, quote unquote, the temples were closed worldwide. So here's the news article reference on 3/23/23 saying that in 2026, the Salt Lake Temple would be completed, that renovation project. So I think we have a duration of the war. We have a 2,300 days time. We have some other durations. And here's a little chart here. For your reference. One other thing that a friend of mine who does a YouTube channel called Christian Fire Poppy, I recommend her channel. I'll put links to it here in the video and throughout. But her and I were talking, and we both had some ideas off of each other. We're bouncing ideas, and we were talking about how 10/7/2023 was the day Israel was attacked by Hamas. That was a full moon. 3 lunar cycles exactly was 1/1/11/2024, January 11th, 2024. That was the day that the U.S. retaliated or attacked the Houthis in Yemen. I think that is a day of escalation. And from that day forth, I think we're going to see an escalation of war for the next 3 lunar cycles. And the next 3 lunar cycles end exactly on 4/8/2024, which is the day of the eclipse. An eclipse has to happen on a lunar cycle by definition. It's kind of the midway point. It's a midpoint of symmetry. I think there's this 3-month grace period of spiritual preparation that just ended on the 11th. And now we have the temporal preparation. We have this grace period of 3 months before it gets really bad temporally. April 8th, 2024, I expect there to be a large natural disaster, probably the largest we've had in U.S. history since Hurricane Harvey. I believe Hurricane Harvey was a kind of a pattern. Hurricane Harvey formed in the Gulf of Mexico on the eclipse date, August 2017. I think it was the 21st. And then within 3 days, it made landfall and became the worst natural disaster. So I think we're going to see a repeat of something similar to that in April. We'll see, but I'm pretty sure that's something like that will happen. If it's not that, it'll be a big attack. It could be war. It could be both natural disaster and war. It could be sickness. Whatever it is, something big's going to happen in the next 3 months. So one other possible interpretation of this could be, in Daniel chapter 12, verse 12 says, "Blessed is he who waiteth and arriveth and cometh to the 1,335 days." You take 10/7/2023, you add 1,335, which is about 3.5 days, 3.5 years plus 45. That puts it at June 3rd, 2027. So I think you take that date. If that date is the end and you subtract 70 weeks, it could be as late as January 29th, 2026. I'm putting my bet on March 10th, 2025, because I think that is the day that the 70 weeks will start. But we'll see. That's what I think it will be, but we'll find out in the future. We definitely are seeing escalation of things. We're also seeing escalation of natural disasters. Just this past week, we had, I think it was 3 big snowstorms across much of the US, including Canada. A friend of mine who lives in Alberta had posted that they were getting emergency alerts saying, conserve power, the grid is under stress, and we may have rolling blackouts. Similar thing happened in Seattle. 9 million people's power was dependent upon some gas natural reserve stores that were breaking down under the cold temperatures and under the increasing demand for natural gas. So I think we're already seeing the infrastructure being pushed to its limits as late as last weekend. So we'll see. But thank you for watching my video. I'm just going to give you one little last slide here to show you the eclipses on the visual. August 21st, 2017 was the first part of the X of the 100% eclipse. Went across northwest to the southeast from Oregon through Nebraska, Kansas City, Nashville, South Carolina. The second one was a 90% eclipse. They call it an annular eclipse. 10/14/2023, October 14th, 2023, also known as a ring of fire. The next one is the 4/8, April 8th, 2024. That goes from the southwest up to the northeast towards New York area. And so that area under the April 8th eclipse, the whole eastern seaboard, is what's been affected this last week with all these natural disasters. We had a tornado in Florida. We had blizzards, all kinds of things. So the duration between the first and the second 100% eclipse is 6 years, 6 months, and 6 weeks. Also to note, the X does not fall over Jackson County, Missouri, is a common misconception. It falls over Little Egypt, Illinois. Yes, there is a Cairo, Egypt in the U.S. It was named after that because of the parallels between Egypt that the people saw. I think this means that we are in the bondage of Egypt, and the Lord is going to liberate us from the bondage of modern-day Egypt. Beginning on that eclipse date, we're going to see the destruction, April 8th, 2024. So there's going to be a repeat one, August 2nd, 2027, and March 20th, 2034, over the Middle East, forming a similar X over the Red Sea. And this is also exactly 6 years, 6 months, and 6 weeks apart. You guessed it. And I think it's even 6 days, too. You can add a fourth 6 if you want, because it doesn't complete the full 7th day to be 7 weeks. But they're exactly 666 apart. If you use weeks instead of days, years, months, and weeks, it's 666 apart in both the Red Sea area and the U.S. area. So I think these are significant events. I will do another video on some possible dates in 2033 and 2034. Here's a little teaser. But again, thank you for watching my videos. Stay tuned, and please do see my prior ones and my other ones, and thank you for watching.